Some of you are absolutely, positively full of shit when it does come down to China, blockchain, and Bitcoin. Well, what's going on, everybody? It is your boy, Crypto Bobby. I hope you are having a great day, great night, wherever you are watching or listening in from. And today, we're going to talk all about the hypocrisy and the moral dilemma of number go up and China and Bitcoin and everything that's happening right now in the cryptocurrency ecosystem, because it's a lot. A lot is going on right now, especially around China, and it's getting a conversation going into an interesting direction, and I think people are going down a dangerous route as a whole. So we're going to get into all of that and more in today's discussion. As a quick side note, sorry for the lack of content last week. Was on vacation, went to Jamaica, love me some Jamaica, sat on the beach, and for at least the weekend and the latter half of the week, but got a chance to just crush a bunch of red stripes and pina coladas and enjoyed myself and unplug from crypto Twitter, which was fantastic because as I was away and deleted the Twitter app off my phone and all that type of stuff, the whole market went nuts, and it was just kind of nice to come back and have a chance to process that without having everybody going nuts about it at the same time. So, hey, I'm not complaining at all. Vacation was nice, but apologies, and back again with the regular Monday, Wednesday, Friday content this week. So if you're new to the channel by any chance, make sure to hit that subscribe button. If you've been here for a while, smash the thumbs up button because why not, right? So this went down on Friday as I was literally laying on the beach in Jamaica and didn't have a chance to talk about it. I'm sure it's been slightly beaten to death by about 7,000 other people, but President Xi of China came out and had this whole big hubbub around China has to take the opportunity to seize the blockchain adoption and to really go all in on blockchain technology. And as soon as that happened, obviously, or maybe not so obviously, but the price of Bitcoin went absolutely haywire, pumped like 30+%. A lot of other crypto assets really moved, including anything that has any type of marketing around China or Asia. Tron went nuts. Neo went nuts. Ant shares pumped so hard that they were actually going to rebrand it back to Neo after it dumped so hard when it was Neo, and it got rebranded back to Ant shares. It didn't actually happen, but that's a bad joke. I'm sorry. But so President of China came out with a bunch of information around their move in blockchain technology. Long story short, they're evaluating the applications of blockchain technology. They're looking at it for financing business, for a bunch of other things, for actually having a digital currency for China as a whole, and we'll dive into that a little bit more. But basically said, hey, we're going all in on blockchain. Now, this is interesting for a couple different reasons. Number one, it's most interesting because you have this rivalry now of the U.S. versus China, and you have this kind of East versus West, and you have there's a lot of stuff going on geopolitically with the U.S. versus China. And just a few days before, the president of China came out and said, hey, we're going all in on blockchain. Facebook, which is one of the most valuable public companies in the world, one of the most well-known public companies in the world, which has been trying to launch this Libra cryptocurrency from the United States, or I mean, they'll say it's in Switzerland or wherever, but from the United States, trying to launch Libra. And Mark Zuckerberg is dragged in front of Congress and just getting grilled by lawmakers about things that maybe make sense and some things that are just absolutely ridiculous. But you have Zuckerberg trying to build something trying to build something from a company that's based out of the U.S., saying it's a digital currency and that's going to be decentralized and a lot of other things. But Zuckerberg's trying to build this thing with Libra and just getting absolutely smoked and wrecked by lawmakers in the United States. So you have this very hostile environment towards cryptocurrency in the United States. We've seen Donald Trump tweet negative things about Bitcoin and crypto in the past. That's happened. And then conveniently a few days after this happens with Zuckerberg, and the United States is, down with cryptocurrency, down with Libra, down with Bitcoin, everything's evil. You have the president of China coming out and saying, you know what, while the U.S. is saying, hey, we're not going to go into any of this stuff. We don't want to, we're going to look at it we're going to look at it with a microscope, and we're very skeptical about the usage of this stuff. China's going to go all in. You have a lot of people that are praising China now for the just their entrepreneurial spirit, saying that Silicon Valley is alive and well in China, and just coming out and basically praising China for how smart they are for embracing blockchain technology. The problem with that, there's a lot of problems with that, but one of the problems with that is the same people that are praising China right now for how innovative and awesome and fantastic that they are, because they're embracing whatever embracing blockchain technology means. They're embracing blockchain technology, whatever that means. The problem with that is those same people were talking about Hong Kong and going on and on about the NBA in Hong Kong. And there's been obviously a lot of discussions, a lot of protests, a lot of things that have happened in Hong Kong and in China, a lot of geopolitical tensions in the past few months with all the protests that have gone on there. And then a lot of that actually surfaced in the United States. If you're not in the U.S., that's fine. But if you're not in the United States, a general manager from the Houston Rockets, which is probably one of the more popular teams in the NBA in China, super popular there because of Yao Ming back in the day. But one of the more popular teams tweeted out a whole tweet storm that was pro Hong Kong protests, could be thought of as like anti-China, and basically got reprimanded from the NBA, which is a company that's based in the United States, because of the NBA's business interests in in China. So you had all this stuff back and forth recently within the past few months, really even within the past few weeks, but in October specifically with the NBA, where you have these people that are kind of balancing business interests on one hand, and on the other hand, the kind of the right to either free speech or democracy or whatever you want to call it, but basically being pro Hong Kong protests and the things that are going on there, and just being, hoping that people are not ripped out of their homes or out of their streets because they have facial recognition, whatever. I don't know. Lot to unpack on that end. And my guy, Anthony Pompliano, aka Pomp, on his Off the Chain newsletter, talked a little bit about this. And I don't agree with all of it, but I do think he did a nice job summarizing the discussion as a whole. But he talked about the United States is suffering from an innovator's dilemma, and how the way in which the Chinese are approaching blockchain technology is something that is like a direct threat to the long-term future of the United States and his position as this global economic superpower, with the dollar being the most powerful powerful currency, not a cryptocurrency, powerful currency in the world. But he did a good job to summarize that basically countries in the world right now have a few different options when it does come down to Bitcoin, blockchain technology, digital assets. You can, number one, ignore Bitcoin. You can ignore cryptocurrency. Number two, you can actively work to stifle it. And then number three, you can kind of embrace it. You can do what China is basically doing right now, and what some other organizations have done outside, or what some other governments have done, but mostly kind of shady governments have done, where they've embraced Bitcoin or embraced blockchain technology, mostly due to some necessity. And so there are three options there, and one could essentially argue right now that China is definitely embracing blockchain as of Friday. So that has happened recently. China is coming out and embracing blockchain technology. Again, whatever the hell that means. On the other end of the spectrum, you could kind of argue whether or not the U.S. is actively stifling. I don't think the U.S. is stifling blockchain or Bitcoin, but it's certainly not embracing it. It's kind of more between ignoring it to actively working against it. So the U.S. is definitely in a place where it is not coming out and saying, "Hey, we've had the president," and we'll scroll down to the Donald Trump tweets back in the day, where Donald said, "I'm not a fan of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies which are not money and whose value is highly volatile and based on thin air. Unregulated crypto assets can facilitate unlawful behavior, including drug trade and illegal activity. Similarly, Facebook's Libra cryptocurrency will have little standing or dependability. If Facebook and other companies want to become a bank, they must seek a new banking charter and be subject to all banking regulations, just like other banks." And then goes on to say, "We only have one real currency in the USA, and it's stronger than ever, both dependable and reliable. It is by far the dominant currency around the world and will always stay that way. It's called the US dollar." So basically, Trump came out again, said Bitcoin bad, cryptocurrencies bad, Libra bad, US dollar good. So you can say, you can derive what you want from that, where we have China coming out and saying we need to embrace blockchain technology. And now there are a lot of people that are looking at what's happening and have, again, praised China because of it. But there are a lot of things around what China is doing that I don't think are great. And I don't want to say that I am thoroughly educated enough to really handle all the nuances of the geopolitical situation with China. I am not going to sit here and say that. However, when it does come down to things, they're starting to look at their new, what they're calling DCEP, or the Digital Currency Electronic Payment System, DCEP, and they are evaluating this digital currency. I think that any state-backed digital currencies, so any government-issued or state-backed digital currencies, are going to be bad news. Like really, really, really bad news. We talk about it all the time in the channel. You know, we've said it before, and I'll say it again. And I've there's a bunch of different quotes about it. My favorite back in the day was just like Chris Berniski in 2017 at Consensus Invest, saying you're better off buying a kilo of Coke with cash, with the US dollar, than you are buying it with Bitcoin. Bitcoin is not anonymous, it's pseudonymous. It is relatively easy to track. There is software to do it. It is very easy to track the movements of what's happening with Bitcoin, especially over something like cash. Now, what happens if you take Bitcoin or you take something like Bitcoin, you take the technology behind Bitcoin, and then you issue that from the government, and then you utilize all the power and the technology that the government agencies or government regulators have to track exactly what's going on there, eliminate cash, and then boom, that is an incredibly easy way to censor, whether it is opposing political parties, different people you don't like, really anything across the board. It opens up a Pandora's box of just really, really bad situations. And I think it is not a place that we should be applauding, being happy about. It's just not. It's what China is going to be doing with this, to me, seems like it is bad news written all over it for the citizens of China. Will it affect me in any way whatsoever? Probably not, would be my guess. It's probably not going to affect me. The only way it might affect me is if China as a whole can come back and start to allow for more free cryptocurrency purchases and pumps the price of crypto, which I'm not going to complain about if the value of my cryptocurrency account goes up, but it's direct, like applauding that is directly contradictory to the ideas about what a lot of people are excited about with cryptocurrency. You're talking about decentralization, you're talking about self-sovereignty, you are talking about being your own bank, or being somewhat your own bank with crypto assets. You're talking about not having government-controlled currencies. This is all absolutely contradictory to most likely what's going to happen with the China National Digital Currency Program that they are enabling. And it just seems wild to me that some people are like applauding this as, okay, the Bitcoin price went up, so yay, woohoo, that's great. Like, is everyone going to applaud anything that positive that quote unquote happens to Bitcoin or blockchain because number go up? Or can you sit back and look at that and say, okay, no, this is actually not good. This is probably going to lead to an abuse of power. Yes, maybe the price of Bitcoin will go up, but I'm not going to sit back and just like encourage this shit. Maybe I'm not going to, I can't do anything to stop China from doing this. They're going to do what China wants to do, and that's totally fine. Whether or not it helps or hurts anybody, I can't do anything about it, but I can sit back and say, hey, I think this is probably bad news, and I will sit back and say that. On the investment side of the house, it does look like things could potentially heat up and heat up rather quickly. Part of this feels to me some element of like the 2017-ish time frame, where you're now starting to see Chinese provinces starting to embrace Bitcoin miners after they've been operating there for years. You had a Chinese merchant bank announcing right after this happened with the Chinese president, so you would assume there has to be communication there, but they invested in BitPi, a large digital wallet, or the largest digital wallet in China. You have a bunch of different companies coming out with a blockchain organization in China. So a lot of different things that are happening. And number one seems very coordinated. Like president announcement on Friday, all this stuff happens. I've seen rumors in different Telegram chats about term sheets already being signed with venture funds in China and just all this investment kind of starting to matriculate. So will this probably be good for the cryptocurrency market? It might be the type of thing that actually kicks off another quote-unquote bull run. Who knows? But as it being something that is actually towards the vision of cryptocurrencies and digital assets, no, it's definitely not. And I do think Nick Carter did a really good job of summarizing this. So there's an article from CoinDesk which we can hop into, but they announced this. China announced blockchain, their whole initiative on Friday. 3 days later, Nick Carter says it took China about 3 days of being officially, quote unquote, interested in blockchain to make their intentions clear. They're looking for a transparent, panopticon, immutable social credit dystopia. I don't know how to pronounce panopticon, but I did my best. So really transparent, immutable social credit dystopia. And then he goes on to saying, all you people that are ready to forsake all of your values for the sake of riding some authoritarian-driven pump, I want nothing to do with you if you're cheerleading this or stressing the nuance behind statements of dictators and how this is actually good for Bitcoin. You can fuck off. We have nothing in common. I don't believe in the goddamn underlying technology. I believe in the freedom that the technology gives us from autocrats and dictators. And that is very true because as of today, you have China coming out and they want members of the Communist Party to pledge loyalty on the blockchain. No idea what the hell that actually means. They talk about pledging loyalty, utilizing a decentralized app, aka a DApp, to attest their loyalty on the blockchain. How is it, number one, how is this even a DApp or decentralized? Just call it the government's app. Just say, hey, we want you to come and register with the Chinese government database. They're loyal to us, and now we could see that on a 24/7, 365 basis. But again, this all goes back to what Bitcoin potentially means for you and the contradictory nature, the hypocrisy that is surrounding, I think, some individuals within the industry as a whole. It is, to me, it's perfectly fine if you just want the number to go up. If the only thing you give a shit about is Bitcoin's price going up and you are super pumped for China to pump your bags, that's fine. That is absolutely fine. But don't wax poetic about how Bitcoin is decentralized and this incredible self-sovereign store of value and empowers people in all these countries, and then also give a handy to China for coming out and pumping your bags 30% in a day because they say they're going to evaluate blockchain technology and they're going to do some type of digital currency that's probably going to be some type of crazy Big Brother 1984 bastardized version of Bitcoin. So it's going to be interesting to watch this stuff pan out. There is, I guess, some nuance to it all. Again, I don't agree with the things that China is likely going to be doing with blockchain technology. I don't have any control over it either. So I can just sit back here and bitch and moan and comment about it and give my own thoughts. And again, high level, do I think this is going to be potentially a positive for the price if you have the kind of the tap of the largest, really the largest economy from a population-wise, all of a sudden able to potentially access digital currencies again? Maybe that's something that is going to be bullish for the price of Bitcoin and bullish for other crypto assets. But is it long-term with the vision of Bitcoin in any way, shape, or form? No, not at all. And would love to hear your comments as well. If you are on YouTube right now, make sure to sound off in the comments. If you are listening on the podcast, always hit me up at crypto_Bobby on Twitter. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to pound the damn like button. Hit that like button, and thank you so much for your time. Crypto Bobby signing out. Hope you have a good one. Peace.